Hello, and welcome to Command Modern Air and Naval Operations. This is our attack tutorial. The objective is to help players match the correct weapons to targets and conduct successful attacks using various functions in the game. Let's start by discussing matching weapons to targets in Command. There are two big evaluations players must make to successfully carry out attacks. The first is that a weapon must be capable against the target type. The second is the launching platform must be within the weapon's release parameters. Command does offer a couple different ways to get this information quickly. It is suggested you do this before you launch a strike. The first method is to use the game's database viewer to evaluate weapon and target characteristics. To do so, simply select on the unit you'd like to look at. In this case, we'll go ahead and look at the F-15 Strike Eagle. We'll go ahead and click the button next to type in the unit status menu. This launches the database viewer. Okay, so what we're interested in is under aircraft stores. You'll notice first that there's a speed and altitude release envelope columns. These actually tell you what the legal speed and altitude must be in order for the weapon to be released. If you do see 00, it means any. If you look over under description, it gives you a specific list of legal targets that the weapon can be used against. So in this case, a Maverick can use basically against almost anything. So surface ships, land structures, hard and soft, mobile units, hard and soft. The only other field to kind of pay attention to is the damage points inflicted. This is an almost exact amount in this case, but of course with bombs in the CEP model, it's kind of a sliding scale. So we'll go ahead and close this, and likewise you can actually look at the target characteristics. So in this case, it's a barracks. We'll go ahead and look at it. You'll notice that, first of all, there's some damage points, so you'll need to evaluate how many of those weapons you'll need to achieve that much. And second is the category. It's a surface building, so it'll meet the criteria, and you'll be able to target it. So that's the first way to evaluate. The second is actually really easy. It's really after the fact, but it'll really help you learn how to shoot weapons and what's wrong if they don't. If you actually use the Engage Targets manual, it'll launch and select a target. It'll actually launch the weapons allocation dialog. In this case, it actually tells you that the JDAM is a legal target. If it's not, or your weapon's not in the correct parameters, you'll actually get a message telling you what's wrong. So we'll go ahead and do that with a different one. So in this case, we have another Strike Eagle with a laser-guided bomb, and we'll go ahead and try to manually allocate a target. And you'll notice that it says that the target is out of weapons range. So there's a wide range of reasons why this could happen and why weapons won't fire. We actually do provide a section of the manual that explains all of these in great detail. If you go to section 642, it's called My Weapons Won't Fire. Please do read those over. It's fairly important, and it will help you understand how to get aircraft or ships in the correct parameters to release a weapon. The other neat kind of feature is, let's say a weapon is totally not appropriate for the target. It doesn't even show up in the dialogue. So in this case, we have an armored platoon. We have a satellite-guided weapon, which is not really capable. So we'll go ahead and select that target. You notice the JDAM isn't even listed. So that's the quick and easy ways to evaluate weapons and targets. Now we'll talk about how to order attacks in the game. There are a couple different ways that players can order attacks in Command. The first is assigning units to missions within the mission editor. The mission editor is a tool that allows players to assign aircraft to some pre-programmed attack routines. We provided an earlier video called Plotting and in the mission editor, which players should watch to get an understanding of how to use this. The advantage of using it is that the AI will do its best to put the launching platform within the proper weapons launch parameters for a successful attack to occur. The downside is that the AI takes over the strike, and players often would like to actually press the button and release the weapon. The next method is using attack options. Let's take a look at those now. Attack options are your one-click attack orders. To use them, simply select the unit you'd like to fire. Right-click it. You'll notice attack options appears at the top. And then to the right, you'll notice a menu with 3 attack options at the top. Let's start by discussing the first option, Engage Targets Auto. When you select this, or press the F1 hotkey, your cursor will become a crosshairs. You can simply select a target or group select by grab and dragging to select your target. In this case, we'll just pick the building. And now your unit has the order. And what will happen is, with this specific attack option, is the AI will attempt to put the launching platform in the launch parameters of the weapon. This one you need to be a little careful about, because if you're within weapons release, it may take a minute for it to get to the proper altitude or speed. The second option we'll use with the second F-15E, and it's called Engage Targets Manual. Okay, this one is a lot more control. When you select a target, you'll notice that the weapons allocation dialog appears. Okay, to the left you have your attacking units. So in this case, there's the one F-15 Eagle. In the middle, you have your suitable weapons. You'll notice that all weapons in the layout are listed that are legal. Anything in red is outside the weapons parameters and won't fire. Anything in green will. Over on the right is your weapons allocated by selected attackers. So this is where, when you do allocate weapons, where they show up to show that they've been allocated. At the bottom, you have a targets list. If there's multiples, there'll be more than one. So in this case, we'll allocate some weapons to this building. So there's a couple of JDAMs. We'll allocate 2 of them. So we'll toggle twice. You can also fill in a number if you'd like. And then you hit allocate. When you do, you notice the weapons allocated by selecting attacker's menu populates with the weapon you assigned. If you'd like to remove it, simply double click it. And it'll go back, it'll filter back into the suitable weapons list that will reallocate. And once complete, you can just close this menu. Now, the one caveat to using this is it is manual, so it's expecting you to put the aircraft in the correct parameters to launch the weapons. So you need to be a little careful about this. But you can actually do some neat things in terms of doglegging attacks, doing high-low or whatever. So in this case, we'll simply just plot a course over the target. The final attack, which is pretty interesting, is a bearing-only attack. Now, some weapons are smart and they have their own radar. So in this case, we have an F-18 Hornet armed with a Harpoon missile. The target is a surface warship somewhere in the distance. So what we can actually do is designate a point on the map for the weapon to shoot at, and the radar on the weapon will actually activate at that point. The benefit of doing so is you don't have to have a 100% fix to fire the weapon. The downside, of course, is that you could hit a neutral target, as the weapon really can't discriminate friend from foe. So in this case, we'll try a shot here, and we'll allocate a couple of harpoons to make the shot. And similar to the weapons allocation dialog, you just close it when complete. So let's see how our attacks resolve. Okay, the first thing you notice is that we were actually in parameters, so the weapon's actually released. In this case, this was the auto attack. The F-15 is actually trying to make the proper weapons release parameters. In this case, a harpoon is fired and is making its way towards the waypoint. So let's say you wanted to cancel attack. You can actually select a unit, right-click it, go to Attack Options. You can clear the attack by selecting Drop Target. When you do so, you actually have to pick the target. Or you can drop all targets. It saves you some clicks in trying to figure out what exactly you did. It's a benefit when there's a chaotic situation. The other thing you can do is ignore plotted course when attacking. Now, the one thing to remember is when you plot a course, the action that you assign here will always occur after that. You can disable that feature by actually selecting this. So what will happen is it will ignore the plotted course, conduct the attack, and then jump back to the plotted course. The final menu item is Hold Fire. This is actually more for defensive fires, but you could actually order your unit to not release any weapons at all at any target. This is useful for people who just want to conserve surface-to-air missiles. If you have erroneous targets that are not worth taking a shot at, this is the option for you. So let's watch the rest of these attacks to see what happens. Okay, so in this case, the JDAM is approaching the target and is struck. Okay, the F-15 is still approaching the target. Maybe we'll speed up time a little bit. And the weapon is released. And the target is hit. And now we'll watch what happens with the bearing and launch attack. So notice that their radars are turned on and they're starting the search. They'll only go as far as the fuel they have. They will crash if they don't. So they've detected the target. And then they hit it. So that's the attack options. Hopefully this has cleared up a lot for you. There's a lot of different ways to use these in the game. Just some tips. When using the auto attacks, make sure you're away from target so you give the AI time to put the aircraft or the shooter in position. When you're using any kind of manual allocation, make sure you match the right weapon to target. Use the platform display to figure that out. And then finally, with bearing only attacks, be very careful where you're shooting because you can hit neutrals. Thank you very much for your time. I hope this helps you. Please enjoy command.